Hi everyone. This is NLP Corgi. Today's deep dive is about the paper from University of Georgia, Less is Enough, Synthesizing Diverse Data in Feature Space of LLMs. Modern language models depend heavily on post-training. Techniques like supervised fine-tuning and reinforcement learning adapt a pre-trained model to real tasks. But there's a key ingredient that often gets overlooked: data diversity. If your training data covers only a narrow slice of behaviors, the model struggles to generalize. The challenge is that collecting diverse human-labeled datasets is expensive and time-consuming. Synthetic data is a promising alternative, but most current generation methods don't actually control what kinds of behaviors or features appear in the data. Most existing approaches try to measure dataset diversity using text statistics. For example, they count unique n-grams, measure entropy, or compute embedding distances. These metrics capture surface variation, different wording, different syntax. But they often miss what really matters for training: task-relevant behaviors inside the model. Two prompts might look very different linguistically while activating the exact same internal patterns. So even a dataset that looks diverse on paper might still leave large parts of the model's capability space unexplored. This paper proposes a different perspective. Instead of measuring diversity in text space, measure it directly in the model's internal feature space. The authors use sparse autoencoders to decompose hidden activations into interpretable features. Each feature captures a specific pattern the model recognizes, like certain behaviors, intents, or reasoning cues. Once we can identify these features, we can ask a simple question: which ones appear in our training data, and which ones are missing? To quantify this idea, the authors introduce a metric called Feature Activation Coverage, or FAC. First, they identify which SAE features are relevant to the task. Then they check whether those features activate anywhere in the dataset. FAC simply measures the fraction of relevant features that are actually covered. A dataset with high FAC activates many different task-relevant behaviors. A dataset with low FAC leaves important capabilities untouched. Interestingly, the experiments show that FAC correlates strongly with model performance. Once we know which features are missing, we can generate data specifically to activate them. This leads to the core method of the paper: FA synthesis. The system analyzes the current dataset, finds uncovered features, and then generates new training examples that target those gaps. Instead of randomly expanding instructions or prompts, generation becomes coverage-guided. The model actively fills holes in its feature space. Here's the overall workflow of FAC synthesis. First, a sparse autoencoder decomposes the model's internal activations into interpretable features. Next, the system compares two datasets: a reference corpus that defines the target feature distribution, and the current generated dataset. By taking the difference, it identifies which task-relevant features are missing. Finally, synthetic examples are generated to specifically activate those features, gradually improving coverage. The authors also provide a theoretical perspective. Effective synthetic data should approximate the true task distribution. Instead of matching raw text distributions, the method aligns feature distributions in SAE space. By activating missing features, the synthetic dataset becomes closer to the real task domain. This reduces the distribution gap between training data and the target task. To reliably activate specific features, the authors design a two-step generation process. First, they construct contrastive pairs. One example strongly activates the feature, and another activates it weakly. Then these pairs are used as demonstrations for the generator model. This provides a clearer signal about what the feature represents, helping the generator produce new examples that reliably activate it. To evaluate the framework, the authors test it across 4 very different tasks. These include toxicity detection, reward modeling for RLHF, behavior steering experiments, and instruction following. This broad evaluation helps test whether feature-guided synthesis generalizes across tasks and model families. One of the most striking findings is the relationship between FAC and performance. On the toxicity detection task, the correlation between feature coverage and AUPRC is extremely high, around 0.95. In contrast, traditional diversity metrics like distinct N or embedding distance show weak correlations. This suggests that covering meaningful model features matters much more than simply producing linguistically varied data. This figure shows the relationship directly. Each point represents a different synthetic dataset generation method. As feature activation coverage increases, model performance increases almost linearly. Methods with lower FAC consistently perform worse, even if their text diversity metrics appear strong. Across all 4 tasks, FAC-guided synthesis consistently outperforms prior synthetic data methods. The approach improves toxicity detection accuracy, strengthens reward modeling performance, enhances controllable behaviors, and boosts instruction following metrics. These improvements highlight the value of targeting missing internal features instead of simply generating more text. Another remarkable result is efficiency. On instruction following benchmarks, the proposed method achieves performance comparable to the MAGPIE dataset while using only 2,000 synthetic examples. MAGPIE requires around 300,000 samples. That's roughly 150 times less data. This shows the power of targeted feature coverage. A small but carefully designed dataset can outperform massive generic ones. This figure illustrates the efficiency frontier. The proposed method sits far above other datasets in terms of win rate per sample. In other words, each training example contributes much more useful learning signal than conventional synthetic data pipelines. An especially interesting discovery is that these features transfer across models. Features discovered using one model family can still improve others. Experiments show gains when transferring from Llama features to Mistral and Quen models. This suggests that large language models may share a partially common internal feature space. The SAE features are also interpretable. By inspecting the text spans that activate each feature most strongly, both humans and LLMs can often identify the underlying concept. For example, some features correspond to criminal intent, academic cheating, or harmful requests. Synthetic samples generated for those features clearly reflect those patterns, confirming that the system targets meaningful behaviors. Despite the strong results, the method has limitations. Some behaviors, especially complex reasoning, are not captured by single sparse features. They may arise from distributed circuits across multiple layers. Current SAE models also require additional training to extract features. Future work will likely explore richer multi-layer representations and more robust feature discovery methods. The key message of this paper is simple but powerful. Diversity should be measured in the model's feature space, not just in text. Feature activation coverage provides a reliable indicator of dataset quality. By identifying missing features and generating targeted examples, FAC synthesis dramatically improves data efficiency. In many cases, a few thousand carefully chosen samples can outperform hundreds of thousands of generic ones.